What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be installing a rear sway bar on my 2009 Mini Cooper S, which is R56. This process should be the same on first and second generation Mini Coopers. Not 100% sure, but when I ordered the bar, it gave the part, it said it was for first and second gen. But anyway, this will definitely work on second gen, because that's how I'm going to do it. But I've already went ahead and done the driver's side, so I'm going to show you guys how to take apart the passenger side, and then we'll get to it from there. Alright, so the tools that you're going to need a 5mm Allen wrench or hex key, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be this type, but 5mm. You're going to need a ratchet. You're going to need a 16mm wrench. I'm using a 5/8 because I don't have a 16, but it's the same size or close enough. You're going to need a 16mm socket. You're going to need a 13mm socket and a deep socket and a 13mm shallow socket. And optional, you don't have to have them. I'm using this electric ratchet, and I'm also using this ratcheting breaker bar. It doesn't have to be ratcheting, but it just makes it easier. But you could, anything I use those two things for, you could just use the ratchet if that's what you have. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your car up on jack stands, having the rear tires off the ground. So mine's already up on jack stands, and I have both the rear tires off. That way the suspension is unloaded, and you can take these off a lot easier. The other side, it just popped right off. So first thing I'm going to do after I get all that done, I already did, is I'm going to take off this end link. And you're going to turn that counterclockwise and hold on to it. You're going to want to hold the Allen key so that the nut doesn't, or the bolt doesn't turn, just the nut. If you have a ratcheting wrench, it'd be a lot easier, but I don't. My ratchet wrench set went from 15 to 17, so. So I'm going to go ahead and take that bolt all the way off. Quick note, when you're taking this bolt off, turn the bolt. Don't use the Allen wrench to turn the nut, because the nut is actually part of your, or other way around. Turn the nut. Don't turn the bolt with the Allen wrench, because you don't want to ruin your end link, because it's not meant to turn. Okay, and that just pops right out because the suspension's unloaded. Okay, so now I'm going to use this 13mm deep socket to go ahead and take off these two bolts right here. See if I can get a good view of those. Hold on a second. Take off both of these bolts. I'm pointing at right here. Those are 13mm. I'm going to use a deep socket for this one. It just makes it a little bit easier. If you don't have a deep socket, you can actually get away with using the shallow socket, but this one you need the shallow one for sure. But it just makes it easier to use a deep socket on that one. I sprayed WD-40 on my bolts before I started this whole process, so all my bolts are already pretty easy to turn. But you're going to want to spray something. WD-40 is not the best, but it was enough to work. So you just want to go ahead and loosen those bolts. Alright, so at this point my sway bar is completely loose. If there was nothing in the way, I'd be able to pull it out. But what's in the way is the shocks, and the subframe needs to drop. So you got to take out the two bolts on the top of the shocks, and you got to take the two bolts out to hold the subframe. So, I believe there's 4 bolts to hold the subframe. But go ahead and do that now. Alright, so that's the one bolt you got to take out, and that's the other bolt you got to take out for the top of your shocks. I already loosened them up, so I'm just going to go ahead and take them out with this. There's one. there's two. Okay, so I went ahead and I loosened this bolt a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking it out. I used the breaker bar, the ratcheting breaker bar to loosen it. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out the rest of the way with my electric ratchet. Try to get it on film, I don't know if I can. There we go. Oh, I didn't torque it. My battery's dead on my ratchet, so I'm gonna have to do it another way. Alright, I got a fresh battery for my ratchet. Let's see how this works. There we go. Earlier when I was telling you which tools you need, I forgot to mention you're gonna need a extension. It's about a 6-inch extension. A little bit longer would be fine, but it can't be any shorter than this one because you're going to need that to get to this other bolt that I'm about to take out right now. So your other lower subframe bolt is right there. I'm going to use a breaker bar. I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but I'll use a breaker bar to loosen it. There we go. And then I'm gonna finish loosening. I'm gonna get a little bit looser, then I'll take it out the rest of the way with my ratchet wrench. All right, so now I'm gonna take out the rest of the way with my electric ratchet. Oops. Alright, now that is all the way out. Alright, at this point, the next step is to fish the sway bar out. Most people take the shocks off, and I like to find the easier way to do it. That's why a lot of people like to watch my channels, because I do it the easier way. And I did find that somebody did do it without taking the shocks off, so that's what I'm going to try. But you still do have to take off the top of them. So I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out how I'm going to pull this out, and we'll get to it right now. Okay, so I'm on the opposite side of the car. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this brace off, or this connector off, just to give me more room when I'm pulling this thing out. I've pushed this shock as far forward as I can, and I'm gonna try to rotate this just to get it around the shock. Alright, there we go. It's around the shocks, and I'm going to go to the other side and pull it out. Alright, so on this side of the car, I'm just going to try to pull it out as far as I can. And that came right out without pulling the shocks off. Here's a quick size comparison of the two. Top one's a stock, I believe 17mm, and the bottom one is a 25.5mm. But the bottom one is hollow, so it actually acts like a 22mm, but it's 3-way adjustable. It's from Way Motorworks. It's definitely a recommended bar. Okay, so the bar I got comes with this grease to grease the bushings. And these are the bushings. I'm just going to put it on, you can see the grooves on the inside. I'm just going to put it in there. But what's good about these brackets is they actually come with, if you have a grease gun, you can grease them without pulling the brackets off. So I like that. Alright, now that I got the grease in the bushings, I'm going to go ahead and put the bar into place. I don't have the bushings on the bar yet. I'm just going to put the bar into place, get it all mounted, not mounted, but all in where it goes, and then I'll go ahead and put the bushings on after that. Alright, so I'm just going to put this side in first, slide it in there, and I'm just going to try to get it around the bracket right there. I'm just going to work it in and slide it all the way back. Now I'm hitting the shock on the other side, so I'm going to go to the other side of the car and go around the shock. Alright, so now I'm going to try to get around the shock. Pull the shock forward. Alright. I'm just going to go ahead and thread this end link on by hand. I'm going to put it in the middle setting because that's where I'm going to set the bar when I set it up for the first setup anyway. Alright, that's just hand tight. Alright, I'm going to do the same on the end link on the passenger side of the car. Just go ahead and stick it in the middle setting. Put the bolt on. Again, I'm just going hand tight. Alright, there's that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead now, I'm going to go ahead and get my subframe bolted up. And then go from there. But the first bolt I'm going to put in is the long one that came out of the front side of the subframe. Alright, so I was going to do the subframe first, but I'm going to do the shocks first because the subframe has come forward a little bit. So I'm going to get the shocks into place, just hand tightened, and then I'm going to move the subframe around so that I can get the bolts in. I have a jack just underneath where my rear shock is with a 4x4 on it. I just have it held up just so it holds the, let me see if I can get the camera in there, just so it holds everything up into place so I can get the bolts in. Hopefully it's lined up. I'm gonna have to wiggle that around and get those in. Once you get those started, you can go ahead and get them pretty tight. I don't have those all the way in. The shock tower is not even all the way up, but I have them about 95% of the way in just to keep everything in place. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm not going to show that because it's the exact same thing. So I'll get that done right now. Block of wood right here on my jack, and I'm jacking up the subframe on the driver's side of the car. Not hitting the gas tank. I'm just up on the subframe. You probably don't need the block of wood, but I used it. But I have it jacked up as far as I could so that I could hand thread this in. I'll probably take it up by hand right now. See that it turns by hand. So without doing that, those holes are pretty far off and it looks like you can't do it, like you can't get them in, but it goes in pretty easy once you get that. Once you get the subframe jacked up. I'm just gonna get it close. I'm not gonna tighten it. I'm just getting it up there so I can get the other bolts, all the other bolts in before I tighten them. So with that first bolt in, the second bolt lines right up. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna get it close. All right, now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And again, I'm not gonna get that on video because it'll be the same thing. And then we'll put the grease, we'll go ahead and put the sway bar bushings on. On the back of the car, we're gonna go ahead and install the sway bar bushing right here. Okay, when you put this bushing on, there's a opening on one side to slide over the top of the bar. You want that opening to face the back of the car. Oops, kicked my camera stand. Alright, I'm gonna come in from right here. Just gonna slide it over top of the bar. Slide it into place. I'm gonna grab the fitting that goes over it. I'm gonna slide it on top. Alright, so now I gotta try to put this bolt in, but I got this camera in my way, so I'm gonna have to move it. I'm not gonna be able to show that. Okay, so what I had to do was barely get this bolt threaded at all, and then barely get this bolt threaded at all, and then go a little bit more here, then a little bit more here, and a little bit more here, until I knew it wasn't gonna pop out. And now I'm gonna go back to tightening this one. But the thing is, the only thing I can get in there, because it's a bigger bar, is this open-end 13mm wrench. So that's what I'm using. It's going to take a long time, so I'm not going to film that. Alright, so I got those tightened up. The book says, the Bentley manual says to tighten them to 14 foot-pounds. There's no way I'm getting a torque wrench in there, so I just tightened them as tight as I could with the ratchet and with the box end wrench. I mean, I could probably get a torque wrench on this one, but I don't think it's that important, so I just tightened it as tight as I could. And then the subframe bolts, which I'm about to do, they tighten down to 74 foot-pounds. Sides, those are going to get torqued to 41 foot-pounds. I'm not sure if I can get a torque wrench in there. I'm going to try, but I'm definitely not going to be able to film it. But just remember, torque goes down to 41 foot-pounds, and you'll be good. Also, before I forget, this bolt right here, you have to have an Allen wrench in there when you're tightening it. So I don't know how you get a torque wrench on that anyway, so I didn't even bother looking for torque specs, but I just put the Allen wrench on there and I tightened that as tight as I could. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Alright, so I'm going to torque this down to 74 foot-pounds. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video when I was telling you what tools you need, is you need a torque wrench. Mine's a 1/2-inch drive, so I needed a 1/2-inch drive 16mm and a 1/2-inch drive extension to get to this bolt. Go. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and torque down the other 3 bolts. Same thing, 74 foot-pounds. And I'm not going to videotape that. It's hard to get into the car with the torque wrench. But make sure everything's torqued down. Everything's tight. This is all set. I'm good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video there. Make sure to like the video if you like the video. Dislike it if you don't like it. Subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. Also, if you have any suggestions on a front sway bar that's adjustable, I want to go with the 27mm, but I don't want to do one that's not adjustable. Or if there's a hollow bar that can go in the front that's also adjustable, I'd be interested in that too. Because I mean, this one's I didn't weigh it, but it's supposed to be 8 pounds lighter than a 22mm, or maybe it's 8 pounds lighter than a stock bar. I don't know, but it's 8 pounds lighter than one of those bars, so it's definitely lighter. But if I can do a hollow in the front, I would like to do that. But if not, then I can't. But like I said, any suggestions on front bar, or any suggestions on any videos you'd like to see me do, let me know in the comments, and I'll get on it, because I'm going to do this whole suspension. So let me know what you want to see, and I'll see you in the next one.